Hello and welcome to Your Health Reclaimed. This is DrPND. I'm your host, and today I'm absolutely ecstatic because we have an unbelievable guest today with us, and his name is Mr. Will Harris, the owner and founder of White Oak Pastures. Mr. Harris is a fourth-generation cattleman who tends the same land that his great-grandfather settled in 1866. Good Lord. And Houston attended University of Georgia School of Agriculture and graduated in 1976, and then returned home to Bluffton, Georgia, to continue to work the farm. I know much has changed between the practices they used then versus now, and how the farm runs today. And we're gonna talk about all that today. So I just want to tell you, welcome, welcome. Thank you for your time. I know you guys are running a big machine over there. It's a big farm, and for you to take the time out to be with us is just an honor. And by the way, I know you're on the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's like huge. So that's absolutely amazing. But again, well, thank you so much for you being there. And a lot of you guys, I've actually, my wife and I met Will in North Tampa in 2012 when the Whole Foods store there opened on Northdale Mabry. And we met him there. He was sampling his products, and he took the time to talk to us. We spoke for well over an hour, and he just told us stuff that we never really knew. And this is how we first got introduced to regenerative farming, and the importance of consuming high quality, pure food. And that, obviously we promote and we practice ourselves for us. So, Will, thank you again and welcome. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I just finished reading your book, by the way. It is a phenomenal story. It's called, if you guys can see, it's called A Bold Return to Giving a Damn. And it explains a lot. We obviously are going to cover, everything, but we're going to talk a little bit about that and how everything started. But I strongly suggest you guys purchase this book and read it, because it will absolutely open your eyes of the reality that we're dealing and living with now, and how people in our land and people and animals are being devastated and abused. And ultimately, in my case, what I do in my profession, how this is leading to the devastating chronic disease epidemic that we are experiencing nowadays. So, well, wow, gosh, I wish you had a lot of time to cover. But let me ask you this: how did you get started in a nutshell with everything?
So I am the fourth generation of my family to own and operate this farm. And growing up, I never wanted to do anything but manage the farm. When all my friends wanted to be baseball players and astronauts and whatever, I just wanted to run the farm. So I went to the University of Georgia, majored in animal science, and came back and ran the farm very industrially, as my dad had done,
Right.
as a monocultural cattle operation. And we used all the tools, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, hormone implants, subtherapeutic antibiotics, all those tools. And I really liked it for a long time. So I ran it for 20 years industrially, but I reached the point I didn't like it anymore.
Wow, this is amazing. So let me ask you this, because this is, I think, a lot of confusion. First of all, a lot of people that I talk to, they really have no idea anything that was ever existed before chemical agriculture and before conventional farming. It's really weird. Like this, like they bury their heads in the sand, and they literally, like when you ask people, they don't even know there was anything prior to that. So let me ask you this. Can you explain how the whole chemical agriculture began in the United States? How did the farmers get, I guess, tripped, sold on the chemicals, especially the artificial fertilizers? My understanding is after World War II. And how did this ultimately devastate the people, the farms, animals, the land, and ultimately also towns like Bluffton, Georgia?
That's a very good question. And having an understanding of that is necessary to really know how to make the changes we need to make. But my dad ran the farm. My dad was born in 1920. So he took over the farm in 1945 after World War II, just as you said. And he is the first generation to start using these tools to industrially farm cattle as a monoculture to monetize the farm. Prior to his watch, his dad and granddad had run the farm, many different species, cows, hogs, sheep, goats, poultry. And they actually slaughtered animals on the farm and sold the meat locally here in Bluffton, Georgia. So my dad really revolutionized the farm. And I think he really, really enjoyed it and really felt good about it. You know, the damaging things that we did through the industrialization were not immediately recognizable.
Sure.
And when he used fertilizer on the soil for the first time, chemical fertilizer,
yeah,
the grass exploded. I mean, it was just beautiful, and you could see it. You could see it a few days after you applied it. But the unintended consequences of destroying the microbial population in the soil and earthworms and the other things that made it work, it damaged them, but you didn't see that immediately.
Yeah.
It took a long time. And that's the way it went. All of these industrial tools that my dad added to the operation had an immediate, visible economic benefit. But the negative unintended consequence was much later in showing up and very hard to tie back to the cause. And my dad ran the farm industrially. I think he was proud of the fact. My dad was cowboy and I was cowboy, so we didn't talk much, but I believe he was proud of the fact that he was an expert cattleman. He didn't fool with all those other species. He didn't fool with processing and marketing. He just raised cattle and he was good at it and he made money doing it. And that was just a big improvement over the way things had been. As I said, I never wanted to do anything except be an industrial cattleman like my dad. Went to the University of Georgia, majored in animal science. That had previously been animal husbandry, but it had become animal science. Very different.
Oh, let me ask you this. Does that have anything to do, remember the slogan if I remember, it could be even going back more than that, but in the 60s, the slogan, science was everything living better through chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I remember correctly. Yeah, that was like the staple. And I mean, everybody thought that, they knew better than nature. That was going to solve every single problem on earth.
That is a great addition to what I was saying. Yeah, but that was the belief that nature was all we had for a long time, but now we've got something better. It's called technology. It's just such an improvement.
Yeah.
And it has taken a long time to figure out that no, that's not right. There are unintended consequences to those perceived benefits. And then we've done so much damage. The water, the air, the soil, just so much damage. And what I think I'm more concerned about than anybody else is species extinction.
Sure, you've seen that already.
We've driven a lot of species of plants and animals and microbes into extinction or near extinction. And I think that in the natural system, all of these species of indigenous plants and animals and microbes live together in symbiotic relationships. I mean, some things eat other things, but in all, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Sure.
And we have learned, we somehow think it needs to be a monoculture, nothing in the cornfield but corn.
Yeah.
In the bean field but beans, nothing in the cow pasture but cows. So we use these technologies to achieve these monocultures, and monocultures fly in the face of nature. Nature doesn't want a monoculture. Nature wants a lot of different species of plants, animals, and microbes living in symbiotic relationships with each other. And that is just not what we've accepted as the most productive way of doing it. and we still are doing it. I mean, on my farm, we're not. On some other farms, we're not. But most of the food grown in this country is grown
Yeah,
industrially.
yeah. We see the consequences of that too. Now, was it my understanding correctly that from World War II, when that ended, all the chemical companies they used to supply the nerve gases, the exfoliants, and so forth. Did they start to shift over to agriculture because they figured out, hey, listen, this is really this is very effective to control pests and weeds and stuff like that?
Yes, yes, so you're exactly right. World War II was a game changer. So much money had been spent developing technologies that could be used for the farm. Probably shouldn't have been, but could be used for the farm. You mentioned nerve gas.
Yeah,
I think that was that research was the beginning of the pesticide business. The explosives are, mostly in that era, ammonium based, so that those explosives plants could be rebuilt to provide fertilizer. You know,
ammonium nitrate. Yeah,
ammonification occurred in the 1800s, but it cost too much. People didn't use it. But we here, Europe, wherever else, spent so many dollars building munitions plants, and the war was over, and we didn't need them anymore.
yeah,
They could be transitioned into fertilizer plants, and it was cheap.
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Even the mechanization. When those guys left Bluffton, Georgia, in the early '40s to fight World War II and learn how to drive tanks, when they got back home, they didn't want to plow a mule anymore. They wanted to drive a tractor,
Yeah.
understandably. So all of the changes that World War II brought about seemed to be very beneficial to the agricultural effort, but there were unintended consequences for all of it.
Wow, unbelievable. And then here we are today, almost 80 years later, uh, reaping those consequences of that. And can you tell us a little bit about what happened with towns like Bluffton? How did I get that drain and then just that devastation that I experienced due to those?
So the industrialization of agriculture impoverished rural America. And you mentioned my little town of Bluffton here, and it's a prime example because Bluffton never had anything except an agricultural economy. They never had a mill, never had a plant, never had a factory. The whole town was agricultural. It was farmers and people serving farmers. And when my dad's generation and later my generation, industrialized, we really impoverished the little town of Bluffton. In the early 2000s, when I started changing White Oak Pastures, Bluffton was almost literally a ghost town. There
Oh
was
wow.
nothing here but a post office, a little peanut buying point, and mostly old people that couldn't move anywhere else.
Oh my goodness.
And
And that happened a lot over different towns over the country.
it did. It was very noticeable here because it was nothing but agriculture. But
Yeah.
today I've got 170 employees living in and around Bluffton. My payroll is over $100,000 every Friday, paid in
Wow.
Bluffton, and some of that money goes somewhere else, but most of that money stays here and circulates in this little rural economy. At my plant, we sell $30 million worth of meat and poultry a year, and I don't buy much except packaging and power and fuel. It's really gone to refurbish this local economy, and it's nice. It's still tiny, but it's nice.
Yeah, but this is amazing progress. And like you said, all those people that you guys employ, um, you know, you say in one of your pamphlets here, you guys had the land, animals, and people, and you said, what your intent was for the land, the intent for the animals, and then I love the way you said it. This was not your intent, but has been a delightful unintended consequence for the people in your rural community. this is absolutely amazing. So, I mean, you're just seeing the benefit of not just healthy food production, but just the absolute revitalization of ecosystem, and in your town, everything there. It's
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
the local economic improvement portion of our business did not occur to me until much later. When I started making the change from the industrial cattle monoculture, it was all about the land and the animals, refurbishing the land
Yeah,
and the humane treatment of the animals, and that's all I cared about. I didn't focus on doing anything for the town because
right.
I was born in 1954. I told you that the decline started in 1945.
Yeah,
So all my life, the town had been going down, down, down. And I had no reason to believe it would ever be any different. And certainly no reason to believe that I could do anything to make a difference. But when I was farming industrially, I had 3 or 4 minimum wage employees, and that was not much of a contribution to the economic well-being of the town. But as we changed how we farm and added more and more and more things, processing and order fulfillment and all these other things that we do, we needed more. We needed a town again, and I was
yeah,
hiring more and more people, and we were paying them. I'm not saying we pay our people that much. We pay our people more than is typical in this
sure,
little
of course,
rural
absolutely.
economy. And they needed a place to live and a place to eat and drink and sleep and play. And we built it. We built a restaurant and a lodging for people and a store and a lot of other stuff here. And just without really intending to, this turned into a very nice little town that we're very proud of. And it really wasn't even the intent. And I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. Little villages, towns in rural America are drying up or have dried up all over the country. And this one has come back. And it didn't come back because there was a philanthropic millionaire here. There wasn't. It was me.
yeah,
And it wasn't government money. It wasn't. It was just uh, starting over, making the land productive and making the land yield an abundance and harvesting that abundance and processing it and marketing it. And, my business doesn't make a lot of money. The return on our investment is not great, but we're happy with it because we just feel so many benefits and blessings that have come because we started the business.
well, see, that's right, because people have a wrong perspective of what they're trying to measure as success. Everything is success nowadays is monetary. Everything is money. But perfect example, you guys are extremely successful because you're such a blessing to, like I said, to the animals, to the land, to the local economy, to the people. How do you measure that, right? You can't. I think it's amazing. So this is, I mean, this is a phenomenal example to show people how regenerative agriculture and those practices can really bring things back like they used to be, like they have worked for thousands of years successfully, and people have thrived on that.
Well, we made my dad's generation and my generation made agriculture very linear, and it's
Yeah,
not meant to be linear. It's meant to be cyclical.
cyclical. Yeah,
And the proceeds were linear as well. They went somewhere else, and we made the business more cyclical. We kept more of the money in this impoverished rural community.
yeah, yeah. This is amazing. Can you, real quick, for the people that are still not really understanding it, or perhaps they haven't even heard of it, can you tell us what is regenerative agriculture about? What is that?
Yeah, people seem to be confused about how to define regenerative agriculture, and I don't understand where the confusion comes from. I mean, it's very simple. There are cycles of nature that generate an abundance.
Yeah,
You know, all that coal and oil and gas that we've been living on for the last 100 years?
Yeah.
That's the abundance of nature from the era of the dinosaur. During that era of the dinosaur, all the cycles of nature were operating optimally. The energy cycle from the sun, the mineral cycle from stones, the water cycle from rain, the microbial cycle, the grazing cycle, cycles that I don't even know about, but many cycles of nature were operating optimally.
Yeah.
And when the cycles of nature are operating optimally, it spins off an abundance.
Yeah.
And that abundance in that era was coal and oil and gas, ultimately dinosaurs and whatnot that made those products.
From decomposition. Yeah.
More recently, we were farming without these industrial tools, and the abundance was the food and fiber that the land generated. That was wealth for us. And then we changed the way we farm. And I don't think we broke the cycles of nature. We very intentionally broke those cycles using products called last name side, herbicide, insecticide, fungicide. You know, side means kill, homicide means kill.
Oh, yeah.
So when we figured out how to use technology to break those cycles of nature, I think we stopped the abundance. Now, we still produced yield, but it was just
Sure.
transferring that yield from somewhere else to make it a marketable commodity.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of damage. I say we, I mean my dad and I. We did a lot of damage to the land when we did that. But now we're fixing it, and
Yeah.
it's slow to fix. It didn't. The damage did not occur overnight, and the fix doesn't occur overnight. You know, one of the measurements that we use to determine whether we're improving things or not is organic matter in the soil. And the organic matter in the soil is no more important than a lot of other things, but it's very measurable.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
You can test for it. And the organic matter in the soil on my farm has gone from 1/2% organic matter to 5.5% organic matter on a,
Oh, wow.
over 10x improvement.
Yeah. That's a lot.
And it's important. You know, 1% organic matter will absorb a 1 inch rainfall.
Really?
That's 27,000 gallons of water per acre.
Oh, wow.
So if with 5.5% organic matter, I can absorb a 5.5 inch rainfall. Now, not if it comes in 30 minutes, but if it comes
Sure. Sure.
over, you know, if you've only got a 0.5% organic matter, you can only absorb a 1/2 inch rainfall, and everything else washes away and
And you
actually
had
does
erosion.
erosion does damage, right?
Wow. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that.
So there's a lot of things we could discuss that you know, I chose organic matter because it's the most succinct and concise. There are a lot of improvements. There's species of plants and animals, and I'm sure microbes, insects, that have come back since I changed the way I farm. I mean, I see them all the time. I love the term teeming with life.
Yeah.
It's just a
Oh,
beautiful term. That's a beautiful term to me.
it
And,
really is.
and my farm is teeming with life, and the
Wow.
farms of my neighbors is not. It's a dead mineral medium.
I saw one of the videos that you guys had a drone footage of when the rain falls and how the runoff and the erosion goes from your the land around people that farm conventionally around you, and how like your land literally looks like a green paradise. You know that. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you a question. In your book, you talked about you guys had a third party independent study done or on carbon constant. Was it how's it called carbon? Oh gosh, it's um, how your farm basically absorbs carbon. And you guys did a study on that was independent, and how as opposed to conventional farming is the methane gas and the carbon sequestering, I guess what I'm trying to say, what the difference is between conventional and the regenerative model like you guys have.
Yeah, this was done fairly recently. It's an
Yeah.
environmental study by an environmental group called Qantas. It's an international group. They're headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think, in this country. But a large company, for several reasons, thought it would be in their best interest to see if we were doing what we said we were going to do, and they paid $80-something thousand to Qantas to come down here and do this environmental impact study. And they showed the things that I've been telling you about. And in fact, that study is on our website, whiteoakpastures.com.
Yep.
And that study by Qantas is reproduced there. You can see what it says, but it basically said what you and I've been saying, that we have brought life back to this soil.
Amazing, amazing, absolutely amazing. And you know, people there's a lot of concern with the green gases. Part of that contribution is, I guess, being from the CAFL, the confined animal feeding operation, feedlots with cattle, and you guys don't have that problem, correct?
Well, the fact is, cattle do flatulate and release
Sure.
some greenhouse gases. That's just the way the animal is built.
Right, of course.
But it's a very small percentage of what they consume. So those cattle are out there consuming forage, grass, forbs. They digest it in their rumen. That's the digestive system. It's broken down actually by microbes. And some percentage of that carbon they consume in the form of those plants is given up as flatulence.
Sure.
And the flatulence contains greenhouse gases, and I acknowledge that. But most of it, a lot of that carbon they take in goes to produce beef.
Sure.
We grow from a 70-pound calf to a 1,200-pound cow. And most of that it's not water, it's carbon that they got from the grass, which used to be greenhouse gas.
Yes, yes.
In addition, that grass grows and it grows roots up under it. And if it's grazed properly, the cattle, in our case, about every 60 days, they graze that grass off. The grass grows 60 days and the roots grow. And if there's this much on top of the ground in forage, there's that much under the ground in roots.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
And when they bite it off, those roots start to slough off, and that carbon gets marooned in the soil. That's where that organic matter goes up that we were discussing.
Yeah.
And then I move the cattle. We move our cattle every day. I let them graze one day, then they move, and they won't be back for 60 days. During that 60 days, the forage will grow, the roots will grow, they'll bite off the forage, roots will slough off, maroon the carbon in the soil, and it's like that plant's like a carbon pump, pulling it out of the atmosphere and putting it into the ground.
That's amazing.
And that's how I didn't add a lot of carbon to my soil, but it went from 0.5% to 5.5%. That's a lot of carbon.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it did it through the magic of photosynthesis. So I really resent this story that I think the vegan community has invented about cattle destroying the environment.
Exactly.
Certainly, cattle in a feedlot are damaging the environment, admittedly. But cattle raised rotating through pastures are correcting that problem.
Exactly. And I'm really glad you explained that, because this is a big misconception. And I really get upset because you're right. Like the vegan community, particularly some of the plant-based people, perhaps they mean well, but they really roll everything. Basically, it doesn't matter what's a feedlot or something regenerative. They all roll everything into one and they blame everything on the cows.
Well, and I respect the vegetarian decision. I mean, if a person decides they're not going to eat meat, I have full respect for that. That's not my decision, but it's their decision, and I respect it.
Absolutely.
But there are people who are militant vegans that go beyond that vegetarian decision And they not only have made the decision they're not going to eat meat, they've made the decision no one should eat meat. And that's not okay.
No, absolutely not. No,
Those are
absolutely
the
not.
people that maneuver these sciences so that it appears that
Mhm.
grazing cattle are doing the environment harm, when the fact is grazing cattle are benefiting the environment.
100%.
Look, if you don't believe it, look at the Qantas research on my website. I mean, I don't take my word for it. Look at the scientific data.
You know, what's interesting is these same people, they defend genetically modified crops, which are grown conventionally, are doused with insane amount of, artificial fertilizers, Roundup, like glyphosate and so forth. And they defend that. And I don't understand where the delusion honestly comes in. I can tell you this, I practice natural medicine, and I almost always do not work with anybody who comes in there strictly vegan. I usually will not take him on as a client at all. And I can tell you that it is very, very hard for somebody to regain their strength without consuming healthy animal products in general. And I can also tell you that I've seen people struggle really, really bad by being vegan. Like I say, you have those militants that are, I don't know, whatever it might be, some kind of ethical issue to them, perhaps even some kind of a religious aspect, I don't know, but they're so strict on that, they do themselves harm.
Well, I absolutely defend their right to choose what they're going to eat and what they're not going to eat.
Exactly.
But I resent them just deciding what other people should eat,
Shooting. Yeah.
and I really resent them uh, changing the science so that that makes things look bad that aren't bad.
How do they do that, by the way? Is there something done through like some of the bureaucratic channels through there, or I mean?
Most of the time, they take research work that was done in an industrial feedlot,
Yeah,
and in which case, they can find what they're looking for.
yeah,
And,
of course.
they want to generalize that. That's the way it is with all cattle. And the fact it is very different in a truly regenerative grass-fed operation and in an industrial feedlot operation. It's very different.
Yeah. Based on what you just said there, I want to really quickly ask you. You talked about how conventionally raised beef with grain feeding, they're raised in CAFO operations, and CAFO stands for confined animal feeding operation, is really hard on the animals themselves and how they can really suffer needlessly and greatly, like things like severe bloat causing, distension and pain, along with you talked about liver damage that is caused. Can you tell us a little bit about that with the
Okay.
conventional race systems?
So when we industrialized food production, starting most vigorously post World War II, brilliant people, I mean, really, truly brilliant people, scientists, looked for ways to take cost out of food production. There was very little focus on animal welfare or environmental impact or other attributes or lack of attributes for the product. It was just taking cost out of production.
Yeah,
And that's when we industrialized agriculture. That's when we made it very linear. We were looking for efficiency, and linear, a line is more efficient than a cycle. That
yeah,
the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a line. So we brought that, and I say we because it was my dad and I. We were part of that generation. We brought that incessant demand for efficiency to be all that mattered.
wow,
And truly, if all you're looking for is efficiency, then a confinement feedlot using hormone implants and subtherapeutic antibiotics and unnaturally energy rich feed stuffs is a way to do it. I mean, you could, if you, I don't know if you have children, but you could raise them to be good, responsible adults. And there's a lot of things you do. If you were just trying to get them up to 200 pounds, that's a different set of rules. You can put them in that closet back there and
eat them candy.
feed them donuts and ice cream and leave the light on, and have the temperature set for 72 degrees, and but that's not that. No longer is that all we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, I guess when people consume confined animal feeding operation based products, conventional raised stuff, they're really supporting, ultimately unhealthy, food, and also ultimately suffering of those animals as well, correct?
That is correct, but it's very hard for people to not do that.
Yeah,
The messaging of industrial food is so incredibly powerful.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right.
The majority of really, really smart, educated people that you might start a conversation with in a city uh, sees nothing wrong with industrial commodity food production, but because the messaging from big food companies is so powerful. I mean,
Yeah,
they tell you in very convincing ways that the way we produce this product is fine, just fine, beyond reproach, beyond question, and people believe it. And then again, you've got super talented, intelligent, sharp messaging people that understand how to convey to
message.
doing to the public,
Yeah,
in the best possible light.
and they don't have any money restrictions either, so but their budgets are unlimited for that to happen too.
I think the most powerful marketing tool that we have is come see us, come see us, come to the farm. We'll show you what we do. I've got a lot of certifications. I got a lot of approvals from third party verifiers that say we do it kindly and without hormones, without pesticides, without fertilizer, whatever the term is, whatever.
Yeah,
I got a lot of them, and really, really, the best one is to get people to come see you on the farm. Well, if you're not coming to the farm, look at the social media. If a farmer is inviting people to come to the farm anytime they want to,
yeah,
they're putting the message out on social media, they can't be lying because you could go see it if you want to.
yeah,
So, my first choice is for people to come see us. My second choice is if you can't come see us, look at I've got a daughter and she's got some people that work with her, and they spend their days telling our story on social media, and people that won't ever come see us, I think, become convinced that we're doing it right because they can look and see.
yeah,
And they know
yeah,
they could, and they know they can come look. And a lot
yeah.
of people do come look.
That is really amazing, yeah, because you're definitely not going to be able to call a conventional feedlot and say, guys, can I go take a nice tour there and film and take my family there? They're not. Nobody's going to let you go there.
They won't let you. They won't
No,
let you in. I mean, that's just
right? Oh no,
they're not gonna
no.
let you
Yeah.
in.
In your book, you talked about how you had and still are fighting with what you call the rank and file cattle people and also the bureaucrats of the multinational companies. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, is that like an uphill battle? I mean, do they harass you? Do they try to, kind of counteract the messages you're sending out there?
I mean, nobody has ever accosted me, to physically, but the messaging that they put out, they got a lot bigger budget than we do.
Sure.
Talking about how good they do it, and is very compelling for people that don't look very far beneath the surface. Uh, politically they're very powerful. Politically, big food, big ag, big tech is puts a lot of money into the lobbying efforts, and they've got incredible amounts of control of Washington
Yeah.
D.C. and state capitals as well, but Washington in particular. Um, it's a stacked deck, and
Yeah.
fortunately, I don't need for everybody in the country to choose this kind of food. I just need a certain number. I don't know what that number is.
Yeah,
And we found that number.
that's
Now,
amazing.
I'm not trying to grow White Oak Pastures. White Oak Pastures is bigger than I ever intended for it to be, and as big as I ever want it to be. And as a family, we've discussed it, and we're not trying to grow White Oak Pastures. I am interested in growing the movement so that the other farmers could become more like White Oak Pastures. I'm interested in.
Right, right. You have what it's called the Center for Agricultural Resilience. And
You are very prepared. That's great that you got that.
oh yeah, I was looking forward for that day. I was like, man, the great will have us. I can't believe it. So no, I mean, I love that. This is the message that I preach to my clients all the time. It's hard to. A lot of people are becoming more and more receptive. A lot of people, they realize they're starting to look, they're starting to read and learn, they're starting to be a lot more interested. I mean, I can tell like 15 years ago, nobody even knew what grass-fed was or pasture-raised or like, what is that? Like, I don't know. Organic was just kind of coming in the scene. Just even organic, anything, hey, it's organic food. Like, well, like, is it really that much different? So you guys have really come a long way. Have really, generally people, like I said, are really from what I can see, at least people have come a long way, relatively speaking, from 15 years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask you because this is if I'm incorrect, obviously correct me, but this is how you teach other farmers through that when they come to you and you guys teach them how this is done, how is regenerative farming done, and is that correct?
Yeah, that's the brochure you have is for we call it CFAR,
Yeah,
Center for Agricultural Resilience.
yeah,
It's a 501(c)(3) that I started about 4 or 5 years ago for the purposes of training other farmers, other people to farm the way we farm. And
amen. That's amazing.
we bring 6 farmers, 6 interns onto the farm every quarter, 4 times a year, so about 24 per year, and that's pretty intensive. And I know we get wonderful people here. We get about 30 applications for the 6 openings, so
Oh wow.
we're able to pick them, and they're great people, and they learn a lot. I tell them now, don't think you're going to come here and spend 3 months. I said 6 weeks. It's 3 months, 12 weeks. Don't think you're going to come here and spend 3 months and be able to leave here and start farming. You're not. But it'll be a jump start to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
And we actually hire about half of those people to stay here as employees. And in addition to that, we have 3 or 4 day training sessions on very specific areas, be poultry production or pig production or gardening or other more specifics. And those are very good too. I think we have I hired an executive director to run CFAR, Center for Agricultural Resilience, but me and my managers teach it. We raise, every species has a manager: cows, hogs, sheep, goats, rabbits, garden, poultry, on and on, processing.
Sure.
And we are the guys and gals that actually teach the courses. And
Oh, that's amazing. Wow, that's really amazing. I'm so glad. Thank you for doing this. This is what it's needed, and I'm really glad that you have people that are coming to you and wanting to learn because this is the way we're going to change this. And our environment has been damaged. People's healths have been damaged, and I can tell you right now that is hands down the biggest reason is the food supply. Yeah, the conventionally raised and then highly refined processed foods. This is ultimately why we have a chronic disease epidemic, in this country. So, ultimately, in the long run, would you say that in order to really change, to fully change, or at least to make a massive dent, is by people demanding and buying that kind of food that you produce. I guess what people call voting with your fork.
Absolutely, absolutely. People want to look for a governmental solution, and there won't be one for this.
Yeah.
It won't be the government. It won't be big ag. It won't be big tech. It won't be land grant universities. I can list many entities that it won't be.
I bet, of course.
If there's a real change in the way we produce our food, it's going to be consumer driven.
Yeah.
Period. And I don't know what to make of that. I'm convinced that's the truth. Now, how that's going to manifest itself, I don't know. I think that the way we treat our land and animals and the environment in rural America is going to end poorly. I don't know what that will look like, but it's going to end poorly. And my hope was that we could make changes before it ends poorly.
Yeah.
And we may not be able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer, not a not a politician or I don't know what you call it, but I'm not here to change what people do. But I am close enough to the situation that I see the downsides of what we're doing, and I know it'll end poorly, and
Yeah.
I don't want to see it end poorly.
Oh, yeah, you're so right about that. You really are, because even in my industry, like saying in natural health, you see the chronic disease epidemic, and it's an uphill battle every single day. And I do hope that that gets reversed, because the way we're trending, you're going to have some severe problems. You're going to have people with disability and sick, and it will be a sick society to a level that, I mean, it's already costing insane amount of money with the healthcare system. And like you said, it's not going to be, big pharma. It's not going to be, the politicians or anybody else. People are going to have to, at that grassroots level, is going to be, the things they're going to take change if saying to fix it. I wanted to real quick ask you, in your new book, when you talk about, a bold return to give you a damn, to give it a damn, you clearly state your message, and that was that how to think about the food we eat in a new light, about the people who grow and raise it and the places they live, about what happens when food raised badly, cruelly, and unfairly is so pervasive and cheap and easy to get, while food raised right, like you guys do at White Oak, is more of a stretch to find and to purchase, which ultimately is completely the opposite of how it used to be and how it should be. That was really a powerful statement. Can you talk about this a little bit?
Yeah. So the movement for industrialization and monoculture production has moved so far and become so widespread that it's going to be very difficult to control, to change, and B, probably can't be done very swiftly. Probably going to be gradual, more gradual than me and people like me want to see it. I don't want anybody to be hungry. I'd rather see people eat bad food than not have any food and be hungry.
Of course.
And the fact is, I used to say that producing food the way I produce it costs more. But I don't think that's exactly the right way to say it. We bear White Oak Pastures and others like us, we bear the full cost of production. We don't spin off damage other places. That there's a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
It used to be a thriving oystering ground that chemicals and fertilizer coming off farmland has decimated. Now, to fix that would cost a fortune.
Yeah.
But who's going to fix it?
Right.
The chemical companies aren't. The fertilizer companies aren't. The farmers that did that aren't. So, there's a lot. It's got to be gradual. I worry about species extinction. I think that every species in a ecosystem has a role. plants, microbes, animals, and we've driven so many of them into extinction, and that has a cost.
Sure.
Those plants and animals and microbes were doing something productive in that ecosystem. We may not know what it was, but it were. So all these ills and damages that we've done have a cost, and they can't be corrected overnight. So it's going to have to be gradual. And I'm not good at gradual. I want stuff to happen all at one time.
We all do.
But it won't be that way, and it can't be that way. But for sophisticated consumers, this is the answer to your question. For sophisticated consumers who have looked at the system and come to understand the damage of industrial commodity food, if those people will be willing to pay a little bit more to have food produced that doesn't create those damages, and then grow that. We did not trash our food production system overnight. It took us about 80 or 90 years. We're not going to fix it overnight. It's going to take 80 or 90 years or something. I don't know what the number is.
Sure.
But we've got to start. And the start of it is for smart, sophisticated consumers that have gone to the trouble of understanding the problems to eat better. To eat food that's grown more humanely, more sustainably, better, and then you let that hopefully that will grow back the way the industrialization, commoditization, centralization grew.
Yeah.
Pendulum swing. This pendulum is swung that way.
Now it's got to go the other way.
Got to come back that way.
Yeah, it is so true. Yeah, thank you. That was a great answer. And I wanted to just last question ask you, for example, aside from the safety of your food, no herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, hormones, antibiotics, all the garbage and poison, really, it's metabolic poison. Your food that you produce is much more nutrient dense, much more nutritious. And this is a message that I always try to get across, because when you try to address chronic disease, it is extremely important. Hippocrates back a long time ago, that's his famous statement is, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And healthy, nutrient dense food is the most powerful medicine for chronic disease and long-term health. And this is something like White Oak Pastures. This is what you guys do. This is what you guys produce. So aside from the saving the land, treating the animals fairly, and people, you're producing ultimately the best form of natural medicine that you can.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I believe every word you said. But that is your message to give. I'm a farmer.
Yeah,
I can talk with authority, and I think I can be very convincing in terms of the land, the animal, the rural community. I depend on chefs to talk about taste. I depend on people like you to talk about nutrient density. Somebody else to talk about food safety. And I need those. I need that help. I need you people who are experts in these other areas to help me educate people, because I can't educate them on anything except what I know. I'll tell you a little story. So when I first got in this business 25 years ago, I got my first website built. It was awful. I hired a lady to do it that didn't do very good. She didn't better than anybody else I had access to, but it wasn't very good. But what wasn't her fault is I had her put everything in there that I'd ever heard that was good about grass-fed beef. I talked about food safety. I talked about nutritional density. I talked about flavor, taste, as well. And I was very happy with as well as the things I know about, animal welfare, environment, and rural community. And I was so proud of my website, I didn't know what to do. And I was asked to speak at some event in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Another farmer spoke before I did. and he had basically the same. He talked at length. He was a farmer. He was a sharp guy. He didn't know any more about food safety than I did, any more about culinary than I did, any more about nutrition than I did. But he talked about it for about 30 minutes, and he taught me a lesson. And when I got home, I told my people, go through that website and take everything in it out. That's not about the things I know about. The things that
Yeah.
I can speak with authority on. So people like me are very dependent upon people like you and other expert specialists to talk about the attributes that this kind of food can make. But
Yeah.
we farmers look stupid when we start talking about these things that.
No, I appreciate your humility and honesty. But no, it's a pleasure. And I'm sure you have heard this many times before, but it's an honor and a pleasure, to come alongside of you because, ultimately, a perfect example, you give me the ability to talk about that and to apply that with my patients. Okay. So I can tell a patient, hey, we got to switch your diet. We're going to customize it. I want you to take out conventional, meat of any kind, and we're going to plug in, pasture raised, regenerative, high quality nutrient dense meat. But they say, I don't know what that is. I don't know how to get it. And you give people like me the ability to provide that. So I'm really excited. Gosh, we can talk forever, but I'm so sorry to take a lot of your time. Um, well, I just want to, again, thank you so much for your hard work, your bravery, humility, resilience, and honesty. You're truly a pioneer and a trailblazer. And I'm just honored to have you on my guest. And by the way, my wife, for her birthday this year, she wants to go to the cabins that you guys have, and we're gonna do the farm tour, and we're gonna maybe you can put us to work a little bit.
I hope you'll let me know when you're coming. I'll give you a personal farm tour. We do have cabins that we and people come, and I built the cabins are not profitable for us. I built the cabins, and it's a break-evenish business, but it allows people to come visit us. And I think that most of the time when people come and visit us, we make customers out of them, and that's the reason we did it.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this. So White Oak Pasture, tell me, like, aside from the great food production, tell us a little bit about the store. Tell us about the artesian line that you guys have, because my wife uses that all the time. We have the tallow, the candles, and all the stuff. I love your sausage, by the way. I was never a sausage guy, but man, that beef sausage you have is absolutely amazing. But tell us about, yeah, because you guys have the cabins there. People can come there on a retreat or a vacation. Just tell us a little bit about, the whole place. What do you
Well,
guys
that's
offer?
that's that's how we wound up with 170, 80 employees. Is we just kept going in little related businesses, and we've got a store, a restaurant. Uh, we make pet treats out of hides and organs. We make uh, jelly and jam and jerky and all those kinds of things. We have a facility that we do that. We make compost. We generate about 8 or 9 tons a day of packing plant waste, eviscerate, gut fill, non-marketable bones,
Yep.
and we compost that with organic matter, usually peanut shells or wood chips, and we spread that back on our land. Uh,
Full cycle.
we do things for ourselves. We got our own mechanic shop, our own landscaping crew, and our own fence building crew, and it's just we're pretty non-dependent on others.
And also, by the way, you guys have a state certified, if I'm saying this correctly, processing facility on the land there in the
We,
farm.
we got two. We got a
Cool.
USDA red meat plant and a USDA certified poultry plant, and we
Wow.
operate those 5 days a week. There's a lot of moving parts. It's a family farm, but we just added a lot of moving parts to it.
That is amazing. So basically, people come there, rent a cabin, enjoy the beauty, get some rest, eat at the restaurant with some high quality nutrient dense foods.
And there are tours you can they're not all day every day, but there's certain times you can get a tour of the farm. So.
Yeah, and the store, you guys don't you guys also have like leather products, right? Don't you?
We have leather products, soap,
candles. I know you have that.
Creams, candles, all these things that we can make from the animal. We say we have a zero waste program. That's not exactly true. We got plastic that we recycle, some stuff like that, but
of course,
we pretty much zero waste.
That is amazing.
I'll tell you that we made agriculture linear, food production linear, but it's meant to be cyclical.
Cyclical, like you said. You said, you guys, from here, you said life, growth, death, decay, and the cycle continues.
Yeah, birth, growth, death, decay.
Yeah. I mean, this is how it has been for thousands, millions of years, whatever you want to call it. And nobody can argue that. Nobody. People have thrived, not just survived, but thrived on that. Wow, this is really absolutely amazing. Well, so give us your website for everybody who's listening there.
www.whiteoakpastures.com. Oak singular, pastures plural. Whiteoakpastures.com.
Whiteoakpastures.com. And you guys, right? Sorry.
And we got all the social media stuff that I don't know anything about, but Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff.
People will find you. Yeah, people will find you once they go on the website. Plus my wife, she does our online marketing, social media, so she's gonna blast everything on the social media platforms with your daughter. So don't worry about that. Now, do you guys? How's everything else going with your family? I think you said that two of your daughters, they also work on the farm.
We really been blessed. We all my family lives here on the farm. We eat meals together 2 or 3 times a day. It's just great. We've really been blessed.
That is amazing. I love to hear that. I'll never forget when I first met you. You're so cool. By the way, you are a real cowboy. A lot of people say, but yeah, if you guys ever come to there and see Will, you will see what I mean when I say he's a real cowboy. It's not a front. A lot of people dress like it, they talk like it, but he walks like it too.
We were invited to go to Washington D.C. here a couple of months ago, and I simply had nothing to wear except blue jeans and boots and a cotton shirt.
That is original though, right? Well, Will, thank you again so much, and I can't wait to see you. Yeah, we're gonna try to come there in November. That's when my wife's birthday is, and shake your hand again, and just spend some time together. And thank you so much, for being on my podcast and taking your precious time. I know we've gone over an hour with doing this, and I hope to have you someday back again.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you guys visit DrPND.com. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're going to post all the links and the website for White Oak Pastures on all the social media. And please go check out the website, support Will. Remember, if you want to have something to truly support that has a real cause and effect, it is right here. This is his non-for-profit organization, Center for Agricultural Resilience. And this is something to, really get behind, because the way we're going to win this fight and this war on all aspects is, like you said, just vote with your fork. And you will not be disappointed with the products. Believe me, I've been a customer for a long time. I absolutely enjoy it. And you can still buy from, by the way, from Publix, Kroger, and
online.
But online is definitely the best because you can also check out all the store there, and they have everything literally. Will, thank you again, and have a great day. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.